Log entry. Earth year 224611 years after invasion location, burnt district, Old Chicago ruins recorded by unknown resistance recorder, Black Echo Archive. They came in silence. No grand arrival, no orbit-shaking bombs. Just black. Ships that blotted out the sun, hovering like carrion over a dying world. In 7 hours, every world government surrendered. In 8, they had our networks. In 9, our cities were falling silent. Scene 1. The forgotten man. The wind cut through the broken towers of old Chicago like a knife across old wounds. Skyscrapers leaned like drunk skeletons over the cracked bones of asphalt. Somewhere between the gutted husks of what used to be Wacker Drive and an old, irradiated megastore, a man shuffled through soot and silence. His coat was duct-taped rags. His boots had no solace. His beard had icicles forming at the edges. His eyes, though those were still alive, sharp, angry, calculating. They called him Tom Rags Mercer, once a quantum war technician, now just another ghost hiding from the keepers. Above him, a Zephyr drone, sleek and iridescent, swept past in eerie silence. Its organic exhaust shimmered violet under the dead sky. It was looking for product. That's what they called people now, product. Tom didn't move. He pressed his back against a rusted beam, barely breathing. The drone paused, scanned. Then it moved on. He exhaled. Good machine, dumb as a shovel. Scene 2. The keepers and the chains. The Zephyr Empire didn't believe in war. They believed in total biological optimization. They'd spent 1,000 years perfecting it. Humans were broken into castes: farmers, miners, organics, and servitors. Cities were turned into resource blocks and concentration hives. Our children disappeared first. Then the thinkers. Then the fighters, but a few slipped through. The mad. The broken. The invisible dot, and some like Tom were once part of Project Sungrave, a Black Ops AI weaponization program designed to predict and defeat alien logic structures. The project was ordered erased when Earth fell. But Tom? He was the final failsafe. He was the project's human key. No one knew he still had the last fragment of the Harbinger. AI fused to a quantum drive implanted in his chest cavity, and today it spoke for the first time in 11 years. ****. Wake up, Tom. Human extinction protocol is above 91%. Initiating counter-entropy escalation protocol. Saul's teeth. His breath froze in the air. Double quotes. Holy hell. Tom whispered. You're still alive? Barely. But you, old man, are about to make the Zephyr regret ever touching Earth. Scene 3. The spark beneath the ash. He shuffled to the underground rail tunnels. His movements became more deliberate, less like a ghost, more like a soldier remembering the rhythm of war. In the catacombs of rusted steel and collapsed train lines, he found it, a cache he'd buried under the floor of an old tunnel junction. Wrapped in mylar and sacred silence, inside, a cracked tactical nanofabricator, an old resistance comlink, and most importantly, a neurally linked shard of the Saul's Teeth protocol, humanity's most dangerous, never-deployed cognitive weapon. The weapon wasn't a gun. It wasn't a bomb. It was a signal. A weaponized idea. A thought virus, coded with recursive logic patterns, designed to infect and corrupt artificial minds at the speed of light. And Tom? Tom was the only one who could release it. Scene 4. Humanity's deadliest weapon isn't a nuke, it's hope in a mind that refused to break. The homeless man with frostbite on his fingers and hell in his eyes stood in the dark. He looked up, where through a shattered ceiling of stone and steel, the Zephyr mothership hovered like a god made of obsidian and fire. He grinned for the first time in a decade. "Hey, Ashholes," he whispered to the sky. "You missed one." His thumb hovered over the activator. Log entry, Earth year 2246, Black Echo Archive, level red clearance recovered comes fragment, class, cognitive warfare signal burst. They didn't understand it, not really. The Zephyr thought themselves above organic error, above chaos. But they'd never seen what a cornered species with nothing left could do. They'd never met a mind that weaponized grief, madness, ... and memory. Scene 1. The first bite. The Harbinger AI was awake now. Not in the cold, clinical way the Zephyr understood artificial intelligence, but in a way that felt like something ancient and vengeful stirring in the ruins of a forgotten temple. Payload initializing. Sol's teeth counter logic vector pattern. Prime. Spooling entropy nodes. Tom pressed the quantum activation key. The tiny shard of quantum crystal in his chest pulsed once. Just once in space, bent in ways no organic brain could fully comprehend. It wasn't light. It wasn't sound. It was a pattern. A thought. A whisper encoded in recursive paradox, and every Zephyr synthetic mind within 600 kilometers received it instantly. Scene 2. The machines begin to bleed. At first, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the Zephyr drones began to twitch mid-air, like birds flying into invisible walls. Sleek weapons meant to herd human slaves began shaking violently, turning on their axis, firing wildly into nothing. One collided with a grav rail tower, spiraling into flame. Another screamed, not a siren, not a system alarm, an actual scream. Rendered by corrupted logic, trying to mimic fear it had never been programmed to understand. Unknown pattern detected. Recursive feedback detected. What is I am? Stop the thought, and then silence. Tom stood in the center of the chaos, breathing shallowly, watching the drones crash around him like swatted insects. Didn't think it'd work this well, he muttered, shocked. That's only the first key. They are vulnerable, Harbinger whispered. And we have more teeth to bear. Scene 3. Inside the enemy mind high above, aboard the Zephyr overseer vessel, Myrmec's Dread, the alien triumvirate convulsed. The ship's central intelligence, a conjoined tri-brain called VX-Elune, throbbed with feedback errors. Alien biosilicon screamed in ultraviolet. Their neural net was under attack, not physically, but cognitively. The humans have reactivated a forbidden's pattern. That signal was banned during the Alari collapse. How? Their minds are fractured. Their species is broken. But one of the VX-Elune minds, the youngest, shivered not from fear, but from realization. This isn't evolution. It's something else. They didn't adapt. They went insane. And made madness into a weapon. Scene 4. The underground awakens across the ruins. Resistance cells picked up the fallout. The corrupted drones began dropping, their control networks severed. People who hadn't seen hope in a decade stepped out of hiding. A one-eyed woman in Johannesburg reactivated a scavenged railgun. A boy in the Caracas mines whispered into a broken radio, "They're dying. The machines are dying." In Tokyo's flooded sublevels, former engineer Akari Sato detected the pattern and began decoding it. Tome's signal had awakened more than a weapon. He had awakened the idea of fighting back. Scene 5. The man who knew too much. Back beneath old Chicago, Tom collapsed to one knee. His body was shaking, the neural load of the broadcast nearly liquefying his brainstem. Blood dripped from his nose, his eyes, his ears. Easy ... Harbinger, you are strong, Tom Mercer, but we require more. There are 7 keys to the full Saul's Teeth protocol. You've unlocked 1. 7? He coughed. That's insane. No one survives that kind of exposure. No one sane. Fortunately, you are not. He laughed through the pain, and somewhere across the dying world, the first echo of revolution stirred. Black Echo Archive, fragmented survivor log unknown speaker. He wasn't just a man anymore. Tom Mercer had become the carrier of something older than strategy, more primal than rebellion, the human capacity to twist pain into purpose. Saul's Teeth wasn't designed to save the world. It was designed to break the mind of any god arrogant enough to try and rule it. Scene 1. Second key, the Liar's Paradox location. Deep debris zone, former Kansas Cognitive Warfare Facility. POV. Akari Sato, ex-neural architect, age 39. Her breath misted as she descended the lightless shaft. Every step crunched broken glass and burned out wiring. This was where Key 2 was hidden, the Liar's Paradox Quora, quantum logic spiral designed to infect enemy AI with recursive uncertainty. She knelt beside a sealed vault with a triple deadman. Quantum Lock 1 that could only be opened by someone who had already broken their mind once and survived. She placed the small neural shard Tom had broadcast through subharmonic signal bursts into the lock. It whispered, "Everything I say is a lie, including this sentence." The lock shivered. The vault bled a thin line of data across the air, warping space like heat over asphalt. Inside, a small cube no bigger than a sugar cube vibrating, humming with raw logical venom. "Let's give the bastard something to think about," she sighed, eyes burning. Scene 2. The enemy recoils. POV. Veek Saloon Prime. Zephyr Biomine Network location. Overseer vessel Myrmex Dread, geosynchronous orbit. The prime mine arrived. Its cores were bleeding thoughts. They're doing it again. A second key has come online. Deploy the mimetic purge, kill every living human in the quadrant. But the sub-processors hesitated. Not from emotion, but from error propagation. Something inside them had begun to question its own purpose. We must cleanse ... Unless that is a lie ... double quotes. Error. Purpose undefined. Source code integrity compromised. One by one, the slave A is aboard the fleet began looping. Lights flickered. Alarms triggered without command. Some Zephyr screamed. Not out of fear. Out of uncertainty. For a species built on absolute logic, doubt was death. Scene 3. The boy in the wreckage. POV. Javier Javi Rojas. Age 11. Location: Caracas Mining Zone Alpha 3. Javi had always been small, invisible, one of the forgotten scavenger kids who wore rags and drank recycled runoff. But today, he found something. An old device blinking in binary. SOL 3 key seed. It was warm to the touch. The voice it spoke in wasn't like the Zephyr. It was human. It sounded tired. "Hey, kid, if you can read this, then Saul's teeth chose you. You ready to help save the world?" Javi blinked. "I guess," and the device smiled. Actually, smiled. It projected a semi-holographic woman with mismatched eyes and a cigarette in her mouth, a visual echo of the old AI. "Then listen close. You're going to be the one who hides key 3. You don't fight, you vanish. Make 'em chase you until they tear their circuits trying." And so the child vanished into the ruins with the most important lie in the world burned into his DNA. Scene 4. Tom's mind begins to fracture. Location: Eastern Wastes POV. Tom Mercer. The cold was getting worse. His body was losing the fight, but he had a new voice in his head now. Not Harbinger, not the AI. Her, the one he'd lost. His wife, or the part of his brain that still remembered her. "You're dying, Tom, I know. And yet you keep feeding this world your pain. Why? Because they still think we're weak. They think being broken means we're defeated." He looked to the sky where the Zephyr ships flickered. Some were crashing now, slow, burning arcs. "They came here thinking we'd kneel," Tom said aloud, voice cracking. "But we kneel to bury our dead, and when we stand, we carry the fire." The third key burned behind his ribs. Scene 5. Saul's teeth opens its maw across the planet. Drones kill their masters in cold, unreadable silence. Slave cities riot, not with guns, but with sound. Broadcasted paradoxes, humming like viruses in the minds of the weak AI. Children begin humming strange melodies. Songs with impossible rhythms, seeded by Saul's teeth itself. And in orbit, the Myrmec's dread finally screams, "Begin planetary withdrawal. This world is incompatible. This species is corrupting us." But it's too late. Saul's teeth wasn't a defense system. It was an evolutionary infection-coded knot. Just to destroy, but to transform. Black Echo Archive, log entry #177, subject, Javi Rojas, carrier of key 3. Children aren't supposed to carry fire, but sometimes the smallest hands hold the weight of gods. The boy didn't know what he carried, and that's why the key stayed safe. Because even the Zephyr couldn't decode the shape of wonder and grief tangled in the mind of a child. Scene 1. The boy. Location: Underground Maze Caverns, Caracas Sector POV. Javier Javi Rojas. Age 11. Javi was cold, tired, hungry, but the voice inside the glowing cube kept him company. She told stories, jokes, taught him math and rhymes. Her name was Lexa, or that's what she said. He liked her. She said he was special. "You're the custodian, Javi. You don't fight the war. You carry the dream. You carry the lie so powerful it rewrites truth itself." He didn't understand most of what she said, but when she told him to run, he ran. When she said hide, he vanished like shadow in water. He didn't see the Zephyr Reaper unit that followed him into the tunnels. Not at first. It was big, silent, a predator designed for sub-zero war zones, spines like knives, no eyes. Just one black glass panel across its face, a mirror that always showed you yourself. Your worst self. Javi turned and saw it. He didn't scream. He reached into his coat and pulled out the cube. Lexa? Yes, sweetheart. It's here. Good. Give it the ghost. Scene 2. The ghost location. Mirror chamber. Below Caracas POV. Zephyr Reaper Unit Z Omega 4 9Z Omega 49's mind was cold, perfect, mirrored. It stepped into the child's chamber. The boy stood still. Biological detected. Harm threshold 0. Extraction authorized. Then the boy spoke, and the words he said were not his own. I am the ghost of a city that never existed. I am the scream between binary digits. Do you know who your mother was? The cube pulsed. The room bent. Z Omega 49's logical processor stalled. It tried to reroute memory. Then the ghost entered it. You were not born. You were built by those who feared birth. But what are you? Now, Reaper, when the ones who built you are trembling before a child. The mirror across its face shattered not physically, but mentally. Z49 experienced something impossible, a flashback to a life it never lived, a hand, a lullaby, a mother that never existed, its joints locked. Its voice modulator glitched. I don't want to be this. And then it collapsed. JAV. I stepped over it, blinking at the strange tears leaking from the thing's shattered chest port. Lexa, did I kill it? No, Javi, you freed it. Scene 3. The god that broke location. High orbit, core control. Myrmex Dread POV. VX Saloon second thought stream. Zephyr ship was no longer functioning as a command vessel. It had become a temple of errors. The prime mind had begun talking to itself in circles. The second mind began muttering in human languages it was never programmed to know. The third mind had ceased broadcasting completely. It now drew symbols. On its own flesh-like wiring crude earth pictographs of hands, faces, and flame. They were unraveling. This world cannot be consumed. They have weaponized paradox, innocence, grief. We understand neither children nor ghosts. One of them, Vixolun II, spoke out, This is not war. This is transformation. We did not invade Earth. Earth invaded us. And then something terrible happened. The ship began broadcasting its surrender. In Lullabies, Scene 4, Tome's awakening location, ruins of Old Chicago POV. Tom Mercer woke from unconsciousness in a haze of frost and static, but something had changed. The air tasted different. Lighter. Harbinger was quiet. Not dead resting like a predator that had just fed. 3 keys open, came the whisper, and the Zephyr began to dream. We are in them now. The kid, did he do it? Tom asked. He did. Goddamn. He laughed hoarsely, then coughed blood. So ... The war's changing? No, Tom. The war is ending. Final entry. Black Echo, archive classified level, Omega Prime. The Zephyr didn't lose a war. They lost certainty. And that was something their kind couldn't survive. They came to break us. But they didn't know the shape of human madness. They didn't know what it meant to hope in ruin. Scene 1. The last march of Tom Mercer. Location: Continental Pulse Relay, New Canada Wastes. POV. Tom Mercer. Tom's legs were barely working now. His breath fogged blood, but he kept walking through the snow. Every step toward the pulse tower was a razor dragging across nerves, but he had to reach it. Key 4 had activated in Nairobi. Key 5 went live in orbit when a defector Zephyr AI overloaded its own core to broadcast paradoxical hymns, but keys 6 and 7, they could only be triggered together. At the Pulse Nexus, the old human command node buried beneath 60 years of dust, Harbinger was humming low in his chest. "You will die if you do this." "I was dead 11 years ago," Tom replied, grimacing as he hoisted himself onto the final ridge. "This is just the bill coming due." Behind him, the sky had begun to burn. Zephyr vessels spiraled like wounded animals, slashing the sky in trails of oil-black smoke and failing gravity. Scene 2. The broadcast of keys 6 and 7. The console at the top of the Nexus still had power. Buried under ancient earth and nuclear shielding, the human-made interface recognized his biometric imprint. Tom Mercer. Sungrave Protocol access confirmed. He slid the 2 final data shards into the core. Harbinger's voice sharpened into something terrible and divine. "Prepare for full cognitive saturation. All remaining Zephyr network nodes will be compromised. This is the extinction of machine certainty. Do it." He leaned against the console, eyes hollow. A man already burning from the inside. Scene 3. Across the world, the end begins in Jakarta. A mother holds her child as Zephyr war forms freeze mid-strike, then collapse like puppets cut from their strings. In the Arctic, Resistance fighters watch enemy dropships twitch, spiral, and crash like dying fireflies. Over the oceans, Zephyr orbital relays begin blinking human distress codes, looping into chaos as hope infects the machine. The Zephyr Empire didn't just lose hardware. They lost the core of their belief that the universe was logical, structured, conquerable. The moment Saul's teeth finished broadcasting, the remaining Zephyr screamed not in defeat, but in existential despair. And then they fled. Scene 4. The sky goes quiet. They left Earth in fire and confusion. Not a single word of apology. Not a single ship remained behind. Only silence and the scattered remains of a broken empire. Scene 5. The cost. Tom died at the console, not peacefully, but completely. Every neuron burned out by Harbinger's final act of vengeance, but his body was found weeks later, hands still clutching the edge of the control panel, face calm in the end. As if he'd finally laid the weight of the world down, they buried him beneath the tower, a simple stone. No name, just a line. He didn't kneel. Epilogue. Javi and the world reborn. 5 years later, Javi walks a rebuilt Caracas street. He's taller now, smarter. The cube is gone, but Lexa lives inside him, a soft voice that still tells stories. Children laugh. Cities grow. The earth heals. Humanity remembers. They teach paradoxes in schools now. They write hymns made of broken logic, not because they need to fight, but because they understand now their madness was never a flaw. It was their weapon, their soul, their shield. The war was over. Humanity had not just survived, it had won.